Back on the Morning Brew with Friends, we're with Greg Frost, and there's been a lot of stuff happening in the mortgage world lately. You don't often hear like big news in the mortgage world, but actually it is.
Well, there's big regulation news.
Right.
This thing called TRID, the Truth in Lending Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act forms have been combined by the government into one form that's supposed to make it a lot easier for the consumer, you, to understand closing costs and actual monies that you're paying for a mortgage. And that in and of itself isn't such a hard thing. What it is that the timing of it, got to get it to you within 3 days of your application.
Well, how slow is your printer? I mean, is it a lot of paperwork?
Well, you got to do a lot of figuring. And the kicker is, if you figure wrong, you have a very tiny threshold of error.
Oh.
And if you disclose improperly, you can be fined, you can receive penalties, big fines, big penalties for very little mistakes.
Are all of these things that still fall out from the mortgage stuff like
Absolutely.
6, 7, 8 years ago?
Still fall out, and it's the CFPB, which is this rogue federal agency that answers to no one, that was appointed by the president and funded by the Federal Reserve, so they don't even have to go to Congress for funding, don't have to answer to anybody. They're like this super FBI of financial institutions, you know. It's unbelievable.
So these guys are making your lives hard as mortgage brokers.
Making them miserable. Hard would be an understatement. Making them miserable, assuming. I think the thing that's bothersome is the penalties and the fines are enormous. So you can make an honest mistake, or get just outside of the small threshold of an arithmetic error, and you're subject.
Be a rounding error at some point.
It could be, and you're subject to huge fines and huge penalties.
So I would imagine that that's probably cutting down on the number of new mortgage companies out there.
Oh, absolutely. There's a consolidation taking place right now.
And that's
there are
scary
mortgage
for the
companies
consumer.
walking away from the business because
Really?
they just don't want to play in this litigious environment.
So what are
any
you
longer.
guys at Frost doing?
Well, we're knuckling down, bearing down, learning the new regulations, and we're implementing starting today. Today's the first physical day of implementing the new settlement procedures.
So do you go in and like have an all hands on deck meeting and have that like coaches talk with all your staff?
Are you kidding
and
me?
make
We've
this
had
thing?
all hands on decks meetings for the last 6 months getting ready for this. It's that serious.
It's that big.
The penalties are that big and that severe.
Wow.
And you're guilty until proven innocent. It's terrible.
Is this one of those things that one small mistake could put a small mortgage company under?
Yes, it could.
Really?
And a few small mistakes could put a big mortgage company under. And the CFPB is notorious for going after the deep pockets. So you've got the big banks who have deep pockets scared to death about this.
I can imagine.
And reticent in buying mortgages in the volume they used to buy mortgages.
So I may be making a giant leap here, but if you have to go through all of these steps to make sure you're not making these little errors, that means more people, that means more time, that means more effort. Does that mean the cost of a mortgage will go up?
Eventually it has to. You know, we have to bring in additional staff to monitor these things. Somebody's got to pay for it. It'll be passed on to the consumer just like in any other business. But moreover, the efficiencies that we've had in the mortgage industry are just blown up by these extra activities. So gone is the 30-day closing. Okay, you're right now, the title companies and the mortgage companies are advising realtors to write 45-day contracts.
Wow.
So the consumer,
So I couldn't if I wanted to buy a house, I couldn't even get into it right away.
well, it'll take you an extra couple weeks.
Yeah.
More than likely. We'll figure it out sooner or later, but right off the bat, it's something else.
Wow. Well, I know the rates, we have a little sheet here that shows the rates that we have right now, and they look pretty good to me.
Actually, they've gone down a little. You know, with all the volatility on Wall Street, rates have actually gone down
All
a
that
tick.
money's going right into the bond market.
Well,
right?
that's what's happening. When Wall Street gets nervous, the money on Wall Street goes from the stock market into the bond market.
Right.
When it goes into the bond market, mortgage interest rates go down. So as I said, when you see Wall Street going down, mortgage interest rates have a good chance of following it and going down. When Wall Street stocks go up, you see mortgage rates.
So if I want to buy a house right now, I should be hoping that Wall Street tanks?
Well, you don't want it to tank, or other things in your life will go bad.
Right.
So it's a balance, you know. But it's a good measure. It's a good thing to look at.
Right.
You know, for the consumer to look at. Look at the Dow Jones. If it goes up, mortgage interest rates will follow. If it goes down, they tend to follow. Not as quickly, but they
Right.
tend to follow.
Well, it's always hard. I keep reading about the problems in Greece and the problems in China and all. It's one of those things to relate it to what's happening here in New Mexico, but it really does have an impact on the ground with guys like you, right?
Well, when investors, worldwide investors, lose confidence in the currencies of other countries and in the stock markets of other countries, they tend to come back to Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Well, it's a supply and demand quotient. As money flows in, prices go up because there's more people wanting to buy the same number of stocks.
Right.
All right. So it's good for our stock market. It's good for the bond market. When money flows in, Uncle doesn't have to pay as much for his bonds, so he lowers the price, and the money still continues to flow in because they're afraid of the yuan, or they're afraid of
Euro
other,
or whatever.
whatever you got out there, and so they'll come to Uncle because, in spite of all of our shortcomings here in the United States, economically and financially, Uncle Sam pays his interest on time.
Right.
Now, he may print money to do it, but he pays his interest on time, and it's done. And these countries and these mega world people, world population people know that they'll get paid if they invest in U.S. securities.
Right. Well, the continuing resolution that was passed last week makes sure all of that happens too, right?
Well, it stabilizes things for a couple of months. It'll be interesting to see how this new Speaker of the House fares.
Yeah.
His first day out, he stuck his foot in his mouth a little bit, and so that's not it's not exciting to see.
Right.
He could have started out a little stronger, I think.
Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, though, on the Morning Brew. We got a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm still excited about the Living Cities guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
It'll be fun to see.
Stick around.
Don't go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Back in a couple of seconds on the Morning Brew.